Hello, Bengals fans. Welcome in to another episode of the Bengals Football Talk Show. I hope all is going well with each and every one of you, especially through these tough times with this coronavirus certainly affecting each and every one of us. Hopefully today, however, we can distract ourselves with a little bit of Bengals football and give some hope that our team will do much better this upcoming season. Today the plan is to do our first mock draft of the season. The Bengals will be selecting first overall, and all signs point to us getting Joe Burrow as our starting quarterback for next season. But we'll get to that later. First, let's start off with some news. In the last episode, I outlined some players that I were hoping the Bengals would go get to help fill out the rest of this roster. And they actually went and got one of those players. That was slot corner Mackenzie Alexander. They got Alexander on a 1-year, $4 million deal. And he was actually very solid for the Vikings last season, particularly in areas where the Bengals have struggled. Alexander will come in and give a big boost in run support, as he had 0 missed tackles this past season. And unlike many Bengals quarters last year who would get called for devastating penalties that continued drives for the other team and ultimately led to more points, Alexander had 0 penalties in 2019, something that we are very excited to add to this team. And since Alexander is on just a 1-year deal, it still appears that Darius Phillips is in the Bengals' future plans. As Phillips continues to develop, I could see him surpassing Alexander on the depth chart and overtaking his role in the slot. And I think this is actually what the Bengals are hoping will happen. Phillips definitely had a great season last year, led the team in interceptions, and I think he is the future for the Bengals in the slot, as well as being a great returner with Brandon Wilson. I also believe that Alexander's signing doesn't particularly rule out the possibility of the Bengals drafting another corner coming up here, with William Jackson nearing the end of his deal and Kirkpatrick looking to be on his way out if he doesn't restructure his contract. The Bengals could be in a need of corners in the very near future. Unfortunately, the Bengals haven't filled other needs on their team which are more pressing and need to be addressed before this upcoming season. In other cornerback news, Torrey McTyer returns. He signed a 1-year deal with the Bengals. Now, he was a restricted free agent with the Bengals, so he could have been tendered, but instead the Bengals decided to not tender him and sign him for probably less than what he would have been tendered. So the Bengals saved some money right there. McTyer will likely compete for a roster spot at the end of the depth chart with Winston Rose and Tony Brown. On the offensive side of the ball, the Bengals signed wide receiver Mike Thomas. Okay, he's not actually the 2019 NFL receiving leader Mike Thomas, but instead the Mike Thomas who was formerly with the Rams. Thomas played for Zach Taylor in Los Angeles, so Taylor must have seen something he liked in Thomas and wanted to bring him into Cincinnati. So hopefully he can turn into a contributor for the Bengals, but he likely will contribute just on special teams as he did in LA. And compete with Stanley Morgan for that final receiver spot, that special teams receiver spot on the roster. Now on the Dalton trade front, the Patriots reportedly have no plans to pursue a trade for Andy, and in fact just signed Brian Hoyer. It appears they're comfortable with Stidham, or maybe they're hoping to address the position in the draft. Anyway, the Bengals appear to have run out of trading partners, with Miami and the Chargers in a good position to address the position in the draft. It just seems there's no more starting positions for Dalton to fill. Maybe Jacksonville is the most likely landing spot now, with former Bengals offensive coordinator Jay Gruden as their new coordinator, Gardner Minshew as their starter. They may be interested in bringing in Dalton for insurance, but why would they have traded away Nick Foles and just ate his dead money if they wanted a veteran backup? It potentially looks like they're putting themselves in a position to make a run at Trevor Lawrence, but maybe they still would like to bring in Dalton, as he has shown he has a track record of losing. Anyway, it appears Dalton will not be going anywhere in the near future. Jeff Hobson, who writes for Bengals.com, answered a fan question saying that of the three options of keeping, trading, or releasing Dalton, he sees releasing Dalton as the least likely. Hobson is usually pretty informed on things the Bengals will do, as he's fairly close to the team. While not releasing Dalton will have consequences like not having the cap to sign more free agents, particularly at linebacker, keeping him at least until the draft could open some teams to the possibility of requiring Dalton. And we could certainly use some more picks, as we have a lot of positions to fill needs at. Another angle to consider with Dalton is that if this threat of the coronavirus continues into OTAs or even shortens training camp, the team may opt to keep Dalton around as a starter. I know this may upset a lot of people, but keeping Dalton around with a shortened training camp could be very vital to a team's success in 2020, and I think the Bengals can be very successful, especially with the expansion of the playoff. Keeping Dalton around to start the first 4 or 5 games as Burrow adjusts could allow us to maybe pick up a win or two if we can improve the rest of the roster enough that Dalton's flaws don't kill us. Then Burrow can come in and lead us to our Vince Lombardi trophy, hopefully. But that's not likely going to be in 2020. Anyway, that's it for the news, as the Bengals still have continued to not address the linebacker position. They really need to address that so they're not forcing themselves into picking for need in the draft, which has been proven to not be a good strategy. Reaching down the boards rather than picking the best player available really bites teams in the bum. And now it is time for our mock draft 1.0 here at Bengals Football Talk. And today we're going to be doing our mock draft on the Draft Network's mock draft machine. And with the first pick, our Bengals are going to take Joe Burrow, of course. He is our man. Okay, let's see as we come down to pick 33, what is on the board. Denzel Mims unfortunately goes to 30 to the Packers. That's going to hurt me for sure if that happens in the real draft, as I think Mims is an excellent receiver who would be a prime candidate to replace A.J. Green. So now at 33, we have a few linebackers that I would consider right here. And those would be Zach Bond, Terrell Lewis, and Kenneth Murray. I don't think Kenneth Murray actually makes it here in the real draft, but he might. I actually like these rankings, having Bond and Lewis ahead of Murray. I'm not very high on Murray. I don't think he's going to translate well into the NFL. I prefer Zach Bond much more. And of course, there's always the opportunity to improve the O-line with guys like Ezra Cleveland, Lucas Niang, Cesar Ruiz on the inside. I think Ezra Cleveland will be a starting left tackle in the league. Eventually, he could be a very good one. He's very athletic. Cesar Ruiz played center for Michigan. He could come in and play guard, though. He's very excellent interior lineman, but I think we need a chess piece on defense. A chess piece like Zach Bond from Wisconsin. Zach Bond played edge at Wisconsin, but he wants to be an off-the-ball linebacker in the NFL, and I think he can do it. He played very well in coverage for Pro Football Focus at Wisconsin. He's also very good at rushing the passer, so he can do whatever you need him to do at linebacker. And now as we swing around to the third round, there's a couple of options here. And those would be Austin Jackson and Michael Pittman Jr., as well as Kyle Duggar and Jeremy Chin. Adam Troutman's also an option at tight end. I believe tight end is a very valuable position that you have to address. Two teams in the Super Bowl had arguably the two best tight ends in the league. So evidently it translates to success. But Austin Jackson is someone who has fallen to the third round here. He's a very excellent tackle. I don't think he's going to be here in reality, so I'm going to actually stray away from picking him. I want to try and stay a little bit more realistic here. Michael Pittman, Duggar, Chin, Troutman are going to be the ones I consider for this pick. And I actually want to go Adam Troutman here. I think Troutman can be a very, very good tight end. He played at a small school, so he hasn't gotten as much press and publicity as other players. But I think he can come in and dominate in the NFL. And as I've said, I think tight end is a very necessary position to have, as it creates huge mismatches for linebackers and safeties. I mean, hell, we can't even cover any tight ends. So if we get a tight end that nobody can cover, I think we're going to be doing very well for ourselves. So as we swing around to the fourth round, another really good tight end, Bryson Hopkins, was available. So maybe we should have went Austin Jackson, but you never know what the future holds. Right here at receiver, Chase Claypool is available, as is Van Jefferson, KJ Hill. I'm not ecstatic about these receivers, and that's what happens for going Adam Troutman and not Michael Pittman. I really feel like the receiver class is excellent, but it drops off a little bit after the third round. A lot of people like Claypool. Claypool is like a 9.98 on the relative athletic scale. So he's a specimen for sure. He's definitely someone that we will consider with this pick. He's not my favorite. I like Antonio Gibson. He's a gadget player. They have him listed as a running back. He played a lot of receivers well at Memphis. He's a guy I'd consider right here. And I would also consider Akeem Davis-Gaither. Davis-Gaither can cover. He'd be more of a nickel linebacker for us to pair with Zach Bond. It's really tough for me between Claypool and Davis-Gaither right here. I'm going to be honest. I think Davis-Gaither will go in the third. I think Claypool might go in the third, but he didn't really show much on tape. That's why I could see him falling. But he's a ball of clay. We have A.J. Green coming back next year. We don't need a receiver for this year. We could use it in the future, and I think Claypool could develop into a very good receiver. I think the Draft Network is a little low on Akeem Davis-Gaither, in my opinion. I think he could go in the third. Let's get this going. I'm going to select Chase Claypool. He's a big body receiver. He ran a 4.42, I believe. He can definitely be a really valuable piece for us. For Joe Burrow. So let's see what happens as we come around in the fifth round. Josiah DeGuara from Cincinnati, a local product. He's a little small for a tight end, but he could be a fullback. Be a real nice H-back piece maybe. Okay, so let's see what we got here. At tackle, nothing that really strikes you, Interior O-line. Let me run through what we've got so far. We've got Burrow, Bond, Troutman, Claypool. Really attacked offense, as well as Bond. Linebacker, I like Wilson. But let's try and stick to the top of the board. I've said that it's best to go best player available. These aren't necessarily the best player available. These are the best player available according to the Draft Network. J.R. Reed is a in-the-box safety. He played at a big powerhouse, Georgia. That's where Geno Atkins is from. And the Bengals typically like to go for big-time schools. And he's a good tackler for sure. He's an in-the-box safety. That's something the Bengals need help with. I think that's where they go. They lost Fedulum in free agency. Is someone they need to replace. And there we go. We replaced him right there. Let me get this pass round for you guys. That's what happened after we went with Reed. We're back up for the 6th round. Oh, look at all these safeties. We just took one. So I don't think we need to double dip at safety right here, but we need to address the offensive line. There's just no good values here. That's okay. I have, looks like I have someone in mind. I think the Draft Network is a little bit low on this guy. I also would consider Tanner Muse here. But I'm gonna go with Alex Taylor. He's huge, 6'9", and he's very athletic. He could maybe mold into a starting left tackle, but if not, he can mold into a very fine backup. I think he'll go in the 6th round, so I think that's realistic as to where the Bengals could select him. So here comes up our 7th round pick. Oh, we're starting to honestly get into position where I don't know some of these players. Also, on the Draft Network ranks them a little weird. I know Michael Warren. The Cincinnati product. He's very good. I have something in mind. Scroll back down here. I just saw something that I would love to address, and that is kicker. I don't like Blankenship as much. He had a really nice edge last year, but this season he kind of got in his head, I think. I want to go Tyler Bass, the kicker from Georgia Southern. He's got a huge leg. The Bengals saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was kicking kickoffs off the top of the dome that they practice in for the Senior Bowl when it was inclement weather outside. I think Tyler Bass could be a really fine selection for the Bengals there. In the 7th round, he could go before the 7th round even. But let's take a look at what we got here. We, of course, went Joe Burrow, Zach Bond at 33, Adam Troutman at 65, Chase Claypool at 107, J.R. Reed at 147, Alex Taylor at 180, and Tyler Bass at 215. Now, so our offense next year, of course, at quarterback, Joe Burrow would slot in and become the starter. Claypool would get in the rotation for sure. At receiver, he would definitely see the field at some point in his rookie year. Troutman, tight ends are a little slower to develop than other positions, but I think he would definitely get on the field Kind of replace Eifert's role maybe. Catch some passes, be on the field for passing downs. Learn some from Uzama. Uzama is someone who developed from a very raw player into an NFL caliber tight end. He's not the best. He's not an elite player at a position that I really think needs an elite player. But he's a fine NFL player. He's not great, but he's good. And he really developed there from being very raw. And that's something we got to give the Bengals credit for. And Uzama credit for that. So at 147, we took J.R. Reed, the safety from Georgia. He can play in the box, back up Sean Williams. And at 180, Alex Taylor from South Carolina State. He will likely be a backup, probably. He could make the team. He's someone that I think would make the team, and he would probably be a backup. But, I mean, with his size and athleticism, he could mold into a starter. Tyler Bass at kicker will come in and compete with Bullock. I would just give him the job. I'm not high on Fat Randy. And Zach Bond. We skipped over Zach Bond. He's going to come in and play a lot of football for us at linebacker. We didn't address it, linebacker anymore for nickel backer, but I think that's Sean Williams. J.R. Reed can come on the field and play safety if Sean Williams needs to come in the box and play our coverage linebacker. He played a lot of linebacker for us last year, but Bond is that chess piece that we desperately need on defense. He can rush the passer off the edge. He can play off the ball linebacker. He's going to be a really nice player for us. But this draft would certainly excite me. And I would definitely improve the Bengals in ways that they need to improve. O-line is still going to be a little bit shaky with us only adding Zach Taylor. But we can do another draft where we address O-line a little bit heavier. I think the Bengals feel they're in a good position with O-line, but obviously I do not. So, yeah, we'll definitely check that out in the next draft. I plan on doing a mock draft maybe about once a week. So definitely tune in for that. Subscribe so you never miss an episode here on Bengals Football Talk. Yeah, and don't be afraid to like this video if you liked it, okay? I'll see you guys all next time.